French fries were good. They were good. They were right out of the, they were right out of whatever the hell they may come out of, but they were.
It's a crazy world, crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save you. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save you.
All right, people, it is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. We are live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, Locals. Share, subscribe, tap that notification bell if you have not. And yes, it's less than 2 weeks till the day that we will decide if the world will continue. And one way or another, I'll be live streaming after. We will see what happens. Post-game show, as always, rubinreport.locals.com. And yes, it's just hardcore election stuff. There is a lot happening right now. Little realignment stuff, little wide tent stuff, little crazy media stuff, little Elon Musk stuff. It's a bunch of stuff. We're just doing a show with some stuff, and we're stuffing it in, and we're going to give it to you about an hour of your life, and we'll see what happens on the other side. What do you think? Okay, let's do it. One of the things that I've been talking about for quite some time is that the left is no longer liberal. That if you are a liberal of the 80s, of the 70s, of the 90s, of the early 2000s, even into the mid 2000s, you should have nothing to do with the modern Democrat Party. Progressivism, which is authoritarianism masked intolerance, has nothing to do with the basic ideas of liberalism, which are logic and reason and laissez-faire government, and being open and down for other people to live in a society that you live in without your oversight. But that has nothing to do, of course, with the modern Democratic Party, which has become authoritarian and controlling, again, with the backdrop of tolerance and diversity and everything else. A lot of people have been waking up to this idea because I guess I've been screaming about it for quite some time. Tulsi Gabbard, of course, who ran as a Democrat only 4 years ago for president. Her reward for that was having Hillary Clinton call her a Russian asset. She left the Democrat Party about a year ago. I think I did the first interview with her when she did leave the party, and I said to her, "Are you a Republican yet?" And she said, "Not now. I'm just an independent." She obviously has been campaigning with Donald Trump, and just yesterday, well, she finally made that last move.
Now, to those of you here or those watching at home who are independent-minded people like myself, who love our country and are committed to the Constitution and to freedom, the Democrat Party has no home for people like us. But we do have a home in the Republican Party where we are welcomed with open arms by President Trump and so many of you who love our country. And it is because of my love for our country, and specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people and the party of peace, that I'm proud to stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party. I'm joining the party of the people, the party of equality, the party that was founded to fight against and end slavery in this country. It is the party of common sense and the party that is led by a president who has the courage and strength to fight for peace.
Okay, so there's an awful lot to unpack, as they say right there. First off, can you imagine how different things would be right now if 4 years ago, when the Democrat Party, the leaders of the party, the people behind the scenes, whoever it was, when they cut all of the deals to hand Biden the nomination, imagine if they had said, and what we will do is bring in Tulsi as the VP, right? Instead of Kamala Harris, right? Kamala Harris, who was, she didn't want you to be able to pay for insurance. She wanted it all to be state-run insurance. she was as far left as you possibly could get, and clearly has been that way as VP and would govern that way as president. But Tulsi was the moderate on stage. Tulsi was less interested in war. Tulsi, like it was fairly obvious that she was sort of on the outs with the party. But had Joe Biden or the powers that be behind him, because even back then it wasn't him making the decisions, had they said, oh, this would be the fig leaf to the moderates, we would be in a very, very different situation right now. It would be possible that Joe Biden still would have broken down, and maybe the Dems would be putting Tulsi out there. And then an awful lot of people would still be remaining Democrats while now they are moving to Trump, including Tulsi herself. So that's one portion of it. Now, to the specifics of leaving the Democratic Party, it's one thing to leave a party and then be an independent. And, in some states you can't vote in primaries if you're not registered with a specific party. There's reasons for that. Obviously, there's less chances that a primary will be rigged if you don't have outsiders in it. So there's like technical reasons that you might want to join a party, but I understand why a lot of people just want to remain independent. However, I have to say, seeing Tulsi get to the end of the road here, that it is time to vote Republican, be part of the party, build that apparatus as much as possible in light of what she said about the Democrats. The Democrats are no longer the party of the people. The Democrats are no longer the party of peace. It is a great move. I would say in many ways it maps my move in that I was a registered Democrat most of my life. I voted Democrat most of my life. Obviously the last couple of years, even in Cali, I was no longer voting for Democrats. But for the first time in my life, when I moved here in December of 2021, here to Florida, I am a registered Republican, and I want the Republican Party of Florida to be as strong as possible. And now I want to scale that up and take it nationwide. And there are many other people who are feeling this right now. It is fairly obvious also that Tulsi had been warning about what would happen with the Democrats for quite some time. Check this out.
I warned the American people in 2019 when she and I were running for president as the for the Democratic nomination for president, how dangerous she would be if she were our commander-in-chief, because she would do her best to mask her insecurities and weakness by trying to project strength by using the lives of my brothers and sisters in uniform to go and start another new, unnecessary, costly war somewhere else in the world so that everyone could see her as tough.
I just want to say something on the personal side with Tulsi. Like, she is a really, really good human being. We are friends outside of all of this. She has played with my kids. We've been to dinners many times. She is soft and lovely and knows what she believes, and also strong when she has to be, and all of those things. And someone like her that just said, I can't have anything to do with this anymore. Again, it's only 4 years ago she was running for the nomination of that party, of that Democrat Party, to now say I'm a Republican. And then also to diagnose exactly what's wrong with Kamala, that Kamala is not that bright, that she is kind of weak. And that then could translate into some really bad stuff if she felt that she had to kind of like beat her chest. You know what I mean? And that's sort of where we are at right now. Also, as I've said many times, Kamala is in service to the system. Think how good the system has been to her. Nobody was voting for her in the Democrat primary, and then they plucked her out because of her skin color and her genitals. They made her VP, and then they anointed her as the nominee after the coup. So the system did all that for her. So who do you think she's in it for? Do you think she's in it for the people who never really voted for her? Or is she in it for the people behind the scenes, aka the system that has given her the power? Greg Price, we play a lot of his clips on the show. He had a great tweet on this. I thought this was perfect. The most elite trade in the history of trades. And of course, that is Liz Cheney, who I guess is now a Democrat, who was a warmonger and lost her seat in Wyoming by about 60 points a couple years back. She's now a Democrat, former Republican, daughter of Dick Cheney, of course. And there's surfing Tulsi Gabbard. Pretty cool, loves America, part of this wide tent thing. And yeah, it's a pretty damn good trade. And there's a lot of trades like that happening right now. I want to jump to another guy. You know, I'm not big on like the celebrity endorsement thing. And you see how the Democrats just line these people up and put them out there. Someone like Usher a few weeks ago, we played this yesterday on the show. He goes on The View, says, I'm not endorsing anybody. I kind of want to stay out of politics. Then next thing you know, 2 weeks later, he's at a Kamala rally talking about why he's voting for her. There's something very weird there. But I am interested when people do the other thing, because the other thing means you're standing up against the system, right? When you say I am in Hollywood, I am an actor, entertainer, singer, whatever, and I am not going to go the way of Hollywood. That's interesting because that shows balls. It's not just because then generally you tend to agree with my politics. It's like you're doing something that could harm your career, right? I've been down that road. When I left the left years ago, I was living in LA. Trust me, a lot of doors closed in my face because of that. So that's what I'm interested in. So Zachary Levi, who you guys know as Shazam, and he was in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and a whole bunch of other stuff. He came out about a month ago. I saw him over at that Rescue the Republic rally. We played a little video of us chatting. And he now is supporting Trump, not a traditional conservative by any stretch. And he's encouraging some other people to do it as well.
Oh, and by the way, to Whoopi Goldberg and to Sonny and to, you know, all of the folks at The View, I don't think it's accurate to say that somehow Hollywood is both a liberal and a conservative town. To Whoopi's point, back in the day, there might have been a bit more of a balance. Plenty of people in my industry, in Hollywood, that are terrified to publicly say that they would vote for Donald Trump or be conservative in any way. That's why you don't see them. That's why they're not very prevalent or prominent, because they know that there's ramifications for this kind of shit. But like I said, y'all, our industry is going to be gonzo. Like it already is. We're getting eroded. The pandemic and the strikes and all of these things, they've already eroded it so much. My cry to all of you out there, you closeted conservatives, closeted Trump voters, y'all, it's now or never. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I do whatever you feel like you need to do. If you need to come out publicly and say it, if you feel like you still can't, then don't. You know, I would never pressure you to that. But know that if what you're afraid of is somehow the backlash of an industry that's not going to exist very soon, then don't let that hold you back.
So there's a couple things there. First, I just want to address that he keeps referencing that the industry won't exist very soon. I discussed that with him over dinner a couple of weeks ago, and it's like the industry, Hollywood itself, I mean, we all know this. There's less TV shows coming out. There's less movies coming out. There are less movie stars. AI is replacing these people. As AI gets better and better and better, you're literally going to be able to type into a program, this is what I want to watch, and reincarnate Frank Sinatra to do this, and blah, blah, blah. And like, it will all be catered to you for better or worse. The industry is crumbling. The industry is also crumbling post-COVID because they were some of the worst when it came to lockdowns and everything else. It's also crumbling because of wokeism, because when you took writers' rooms where they used to just hire the funniest people, let's say for a comedy, and suddenly they were like, no, we need an Indian and we need a trans person and blah, blah, blah. Suddenly the product was not as good. So he's right on that front, that if you're in Hollywood and you're watching this, and there's an awful lot of, it's not even they're conservatives, but there's a lot of these closeted political people in Hollywood. It's like your industry's crumbling anyway. So what are you afraid of, right? I get it. You still want one more paycheck. Everybody wants the paycheck. But like at some point, the thing just runs dry. That's one portion of it. The other portion of it, of course, is that what he represents there, this is a guy who's putting his butt on the line. He understands the industry's drying up, as I just said, but he's a major movie star. This guy's in the superhero movies. They're pretty big. And those things will probably go away for him now. But he is doing what he thinks is right. And I think it is a fundamental truth in the world that if you do what you think is right for the right reasons, and you're honest and forthright about it, and you put more truth into the world, that will set the world more correctly, right? Like that's a Jordan Peterson-esque notion, a Carl Jung notion. But that is, if you tell the truth for the truth's sake, it is better than the alternative. And so all of these people that think that their silence somehow lets them skate by, it's actually what's feeding the beast, right? It's what's feeding the golem. That's what's going on here. But the wide tent thing is continuing and continuing. We'll have more on the other side. But first, let me talk to you about Bright Core Nutrition. Wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to get older? Wrinkling skin, losing our hair, brittle nails, aches in our joints. I want to tell you about Revive, the superior collagen powder that delivers real noticeable results. Containing 5 types of collagen, hyaluronic acid, biotin, and vitamin C, this powerful formula works synergistically to keep you looking younger. Many collagen products on the market today simply don't deliver results, whether it's reducing aches and pains, strengthening hair and nails, or keeping your skin smooth and youthful. Revive does it all. Revive is the fountain of youth. Your skin will be more radiant, with less wrinkles, and your hair will be thicker, shinier, and more luscious than ever. Just look at mine. Experience the unmatched benefits of Revive, because feeling and looking your best starts from within. You'll see the difference in the mirror in no time. Revive is easy to mix, all natural, non-GMO, 100% made in the good old US of A, and available in 2 delicious flavors. Revive, real results inside and out. Go to mybrightcore.com to get 25% off with code Rubin, or call the number below to get 50% off your entire order. And now back to me. All right, so Tulsi Gabbard, officially a Republican, obviously was already supporting Trump, and now officially Republican. And as I said, there's technical reasons why it is worth you choosing a party, depending on what state you live in, so you could vote in primaries or just help strengthen the party from the inside. In some states, it doesn't matter in terms of primary votes, but I think it's good for people to get to the end of the road ideologically. So that's all good. Then we showed you Zachary Levi, a guy who's putting his butt and career on the line to just say what he thinks. He's not a radical. He's not a mean guy. He's definitely not a traditional conservative. But here we are. And then, of course, the counter to that is that so far, and think about this for your own life, so far what I can see is that the Democrats have added Dick and Liz Cheney. They've added Dick. That's what they've added. In your own life, how many people do you know that were Republicans that are suddenly like, I'm a Democrat now. I really love Kamala Harris. It would be a completely insane thing to say. I can't even imagine someone coming, like being at a dinner party and somebody being like, I did vote for Donald Trump 4 years ago, but I do love this Kamala Harris. I think what she did as it relates to Biden is right, and she has vision, and she's smart enough. It's almost impossible to conceptualize, really. So it's not happening much on that side, but it is happening on this side. Check this out. This is NASCAR champion Danica Patrick. She is not particularly political. She went on Jesse Waters' show. I'll be on Jesse Waters' show on Thursday in New York, and talked about her evolution.
I heard a rumor about you, and I'm not sure if it's true. And that rumor is that this is the first election that you're going to be voting in. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. It's not something I'm proud of, I would say, but it is true. And to explain myself slightly, one of the rules I've had for myself in all of past elections, no matter what's happened, is I said, look, if I don't vote, it doesn't mean I don't have an opinion, but I'm not gonna tell anyone about it. I don't have a problem with anything. I can't complain about anything because I didn't do my part. Feels like voting for Donald Trump is like the vote of reason. It's like the rational, reasonable choice. I feel like most of all, though, what this country could be if he gets into office with all of the amazing, brilliant people that are supporting him, I feel like it could not only make America great again, but make America greater than it's ever been.
Maybe if Trump becomes president, I just retire. You guys want to wrap it up? We'll move somewhere. We'll all go to Bora Bora. We'll live together in a small home. We'll fish during the day and play volleyball or something. Like, that's what I've been calling for. And Trump might be that restoration, right? It's crazy. How did it end up being this orange billionaire with the crazy hair and he brought all the people together? Like, it doesn't really make sense. And maybe it actually really does make sense. Maybe God uses the most unlikely people to do the thing. And the thing right now is the restoration of America. And if you can take the NASCAR people and the disaffected libs and okay, you got it. And it continues. We've shown you some videos of these guys, the Nelk boys. They have a huge, huge podcast. They're a cultural phenomenon. Doesn't matter if you watch them or listen to them or anything else. But here's Nelk boys Kyle Forgeard, also on Jesse Waters' show, talking about why young people are turning towards Trump.
Co-host of Full Send podcast, one of the Nelk boys, Kyle Forgeard, is here. What's up, Kyle?
What's up, Jesse? Big fan. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, of course, every time I look around, you're hanging with Trump on the plane, you're at a UFC fight, you're golfing with him, he's on your podcast. Did he adopt you?
I think we're pretty much adopted at this rate, honestly. We're like a great grandchild at this point.
All right, so you're spending a lot of time with the big guy. What do you want to tell the people that a lot of people don't know about him?
I mean, we met him about 4 years ago. We actually went on Air Force One in 2020. And 4 years ago, he's been the same guy that he is now. He's just, off camera, behind the lights and stuff. He's just a cool guy. He's a great guy to be around. He's nice to everybody. But yeah, he's just remained loyal. I think now a lot of podcasters, it's kind of cool to mess with Trump. But back in 2020, it really wasn't. And then I think that's when we had him on. So he always remembers that we were kind of the first podcasters to have him on when it wasn't cool.
Why do you think young people are coming around to him? What is it about Trump that they didn't see the first time?
You know what? I just think there's so much crazy stuff going on in the world. You got men playing in women's sports. You got wars going on now all over the world. World War III is pretty much almost here. Kids are coming out of college. They can't get a job. So I think it's Trump, but I think it's just people are seeing the chaos. They're seeing the craziness and people are fed up with it. We've seen what the last 4 years have been like and people they're not having it.
All right, again, doesn't matter if you watch these guys, if you think that's great political analysis or anything else, but there is something interesting that he said there at the end, which is when Jesse's asking, well, what's happening here? Okay, people see this feeling about World War III and the Russia-Ukraine thing is nuts and then the boys or girls and all that stuff. All the Democrats had to do to not make it cool to vote for Trump was not be completely batshit insane. And as my friend Jordan Peterson often points out, he went to DC a couple of years ago to ask congressional and Senate Democrats, when do you think the left goes too far? And he could not get one congressional Democrat or Senate member to ever say they go too far. So you can see what happened. They kept going bananas. And as they went bananas, Trump basically didn't go bananas. Actually, you can even see that he's moderated his language and the attacks in the last little bit, which everybody really wanted him to do, right? That was the whole thing. I kind of like the policies. I don't like the guy himself. Well, he's not doing a lot of the crazy stuff. It has become more controlled. You're seeing an even, I would say, lighter, funnier side of him lately with McDonald's and the rest of it. But that's not really it. What it really is bringing is that it's oh, I'm voting for Trump. It just means that you think boys and girls are different. I'm voting for Trump. It means that you think neo-racism isn't cool. I'm voting for Trump. It means you think America is kind of good. I'm voting for Trump. It means you're not for 8-month abortions. it's just all so damn obvious. And the lefties need only blame themselves. But yes, while it was not cool for Trump to get on, well, he was on my show and he did obviously some shows back then in 2020 for people that were in the more political world. He was not going on all of these podcasts as we're now showing you every week, but he is going on the king of all podcasts. That's right. This is from the Post Millennial, breaking Trump to appear on Joe Rogan's podcast to be recorded Friday in Austin. And look, as you know, I think this is interesting for a million reasons. First off, Rogan himself has obviously evolved and in essence is a Trump supporter, whether he says it or not. I do hope he says it because I think it's important to just get to the end of the road, as I said with Tulsi. And when I had Michael Knowles on last week, we discussed this a little bit. And as Noel said, you can't overstate the influence this guy has. So if people see that Rogan is sort of hedging it, maybe that means they'll hedge it too. So it would be great if Rogan finally gets there. But whether he does or doesn't, Trump can go and he's going to sit there for 2 or 3 hours and they're going to talk about McDonald's. They're going to talk about policy. They're going to talk about virtually everything. I have no doubt Trump is going to do no preparation. He's not going to say you can talk about this, you can't talk about that. And that's what people want. And everyone damn well knows Kamala Harris could not sit with someone for 3 hours, even if it was somebody who was just basically lauding her relentlessly. She just doesn't have the mental stamina and acuity to do it. As for Rogan himself, it's been a long slog to get him here, I would say. This is a guy who left California and moved to Texas because of COVID craziness and taxes and everything else. He's been part of this wide tent thing. And here he is talking about how things were better under Trump.
He was in all the rap songs. Rappers would always talk about Trump. Everybody loved Trump. It was like this wheelin', dealin', billionaire character that everybody enjoyed.
Yeah. I felt like he did a decent job.
As president? When you look at his regulations, it certainly helped the economy. I mean, that guy who was
I
the
feel
head
like
of,
we were in a lot better spot then than now, for sure.
without a doubt. Well, there's a lot of happened, COVID and the world.
Right.
The world scares the shit out of me right now. Right now, I'm like, boy, this is not good. None of this Ukraine thing,
loading up on
not
ammo.
good. Yeah, everything not good. Everything scares the shit out of me. I'm looking at all of it going, like, there's no good solutions to the Middle East. All of it looks terrible, and the Ukraine thing looks terrible. It just scares the shit out of me because it's just like all it takes is one person to launch a nuke, and the world changes forever.
Right.
And I've never felt like that was a possibility in my lifetime until now.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, so that's just one of the many examples where he basically is like, Trump would be better about that stuff, right? That we had peace in the Middle East under Donald Trump. He scared Iran a little bit and dropped the mother of all bombs. And then they were like, oh, this guy's kind of nuts. Maybe we won't do anything. But under Joe Biden, Iran's been at it, right? Middle East is hot. Russia went into Ukraine. They did not do it under Donald Trump. They did do it under Barack Obama. And on top of all of the other things that I just laid out with wokeness and all the stuff happening to kids and in our schools and the border and everything else. So it's just like it has become, when Tulsi said that the Republican Party is now the party of the people, it's like it's basically just become the party of something roughly kind of sane. It does not mean I agree with everything that is in the Republican Party platform. And as I always say, I am by no means a traditional Republican. My guess is if you're watching this, you probably are not the most traditional Republican. But we got two choices right now. And it really is only one choice. And it is an orange choice. And I think most people are going to make that choice. Guys, let me talk about the contagion kit real quick. And then we will get back to another former lefty who has had his own awakening. The world's on edge. Election tensions, economic instability, supply shortages, and new health threats. Waiting for the medical industrial complex to protect you during a crisis is a huge mistake. That's why I want to tell you guys about the wellness company's Contagion Emergency Kit. It's a lifesaver put together by real experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. Inside, you've got medications like ivermectin, HCQ, budesonide, and even a nebulizer. These are critical medications to treat respiratory illnesses and so much more, especially heading into flu season. Think about it. We've witnessed drug shortages, pharmacies turning people away, and prescriptions being questioned. Do you really want to risk being told no when you need life-saving meds? This kit lets you bypass the red tape. No waiting, no begging. You're in control. With just a few clicks, the kit is delivered right to your door. I have my kit, and now you can get yours by heading on over to twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $45. Don't wait until it's too late. Act now, take control, and ensure you're protected against whatever comes next. That's twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $45 plus free shipping right now. All right, so another one of these guys, I think I've mentioned him once or twice on this show, who has woken up politically and is now involved and putting his money where his mouth is, quite literally in this case, is Elon Musk, of course. As you know, Elon Musk is now donating $1 million every single day to someone who will pledge to register to vote. Not vote Republican, not vote for Trump. He's not buying votes in any way whatsoever. However, that is what they're saying he's doing. But first, here's Elon on why he's doing this in the first place.
So I have a surprise for you, which is that we're going to be awarding $1 million to randomly to people who have signed the petition every day from now until the election. So every day between now and the election, we'll be awarding $1 million starting tonight. All right. So, tonight's person is John Dreyer. Yeah.
I mean, it's hilarious. The guy's a billionaire. He's also now the host of The Price is Right. But do you see what he's doing here, guys? He's not telling anyone to vote any particular way. It's obvious that he's going to vote for Trump, and he thinks that that's the best way to continue America as we know it. But it is just a petition to pledge to register to vote. So you as a Democrat or a progressive nutbag could still pledge to register to vote, and Elon will still give you $1 million. He also, as we played yesterday, he said that he did it partly because he knew if he did it, it would make the mainstream media go crazy, and then they would focus more eyeballs on his drive to get people to register to vote. So it's just win, 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 win. And when they call him a troll, it's like, yeah, he just trolled the hell out of you guys because you're all freaking out about getting people to register to vote. Dave, do you have an example of that? I do, Dave. Here's Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro saying that law enforcement should take a look at Elon Musk.
Governor, let me ask you about a development we learned about overnight. Elon Musk says he will be giving away $1 million every day to random voters who sign his super PAC's petition. You are a former attorney general. Is this legal?
I think there are real questions with how he is spending money in this race, how the dark money is flowing, not just into Pennsylvania, but apparently now into the pockets of Pennsylvanians. That is deeply concerning. Look, Musk obviously has a right to be able to express his views. He's made it very, very clear that he supports Donald Trump. I don't, obviously we have a difference of opinion. I don't deny him that right. But when you start flowing this kind of money into politics, I think it raises serious questions that folks may want to take a look at.
So you think it might not be legal, yes or no?
I think it's something that law enforcement could take a look at. I'm not the Attorney General anymore of Pennsylvania. I'm the governor, but it does raise some serious questions.
You know, I got to say, Josh Shapiro, I don't know if you're a fan of the Rubin Report, but the Democrat Party did not choose you as vice president, even though you're fairly competent, you're not a total lefty maniac, and you are the governor of the swing state of all swing states, Pennsylvania. They did not choose you because you're a Jew. You are still a slave to those people and pretending that Elon Musk is doing something with dark money here. This is the reverse of dark money. Dark money is the shady shit they do behind the scenes, right? It's when Soros is funding all these NGOs that are giving money back to Democrat candidates or putting in DAs secretly and all of those things. That would be dark money. He's doing the most, what would you call it? He's doing the most transparent money thing you could do. If you register to vote, I can't tell you who to vote for. We'll throw you $1 million. Oh, it's all out in the open and we have a big freaking check and you're going to come down the stage like in The Price is Right. That is the... And of course, the way she asks the question, it's just like, it's just all so gross. But speaking of gross, here's Whoopi Goldberg.
And this... People keep trying to buy the election.
Yeah.
Billionaire Elon Musk has gone all in for you know who, and now he's giving out $1 million a day to people who sign his super PAC's petition. What? Now, I thought that was against the law, but apparently they've found some new loop stuff that allowed this to go. I thought you couldn't do this. What's happening?
Well, I think that's what you do when you have no plan for the public, when you have no economic plan that's going to benefit the middle class, when you have no plan to protect reproductive rights, when you have no plan to address climate change and produce American energy, you go to these type of tactics. It's all about distraction.
There's a concept of a plan.
Yeah.
Aren't these tactics against the law, though? Aren't you?
Well, I'll let the lawyers decide.
Do you see how authoritarian they are? You see how badly they want to jail Elon Musk, the guy who's trying to take us to Mars and make life interplanetary? As I always say, you would think that the very same people who purport to believe that the ending of the world is coming because of climate change, they might be on the side of the guy who could save us. And yet they are not because they disagree with his politics. Note, she didn't say that what the actual petition is. It's a pledge to vote. The way they're couching it there is that somehow he's tricking people into voting for Donald Trump. Of course, it is not true. And Tim Walz, who is just a nothing, he is a nothing and should be hopefully no more than a footnote in history, starting in 13 days from now. Here he is at a campaign stop, again, going after Elon Musk.
Elon's on that stage, jumping around, skipping like a dip on these things. You know it. Think about it. Think about that. That guy is literally the richest man in the world, spending millions of dollars to help Donald Trump buy an election. Now look, they're saying the quiet parts out loud now because Donald Trump has already promised that he would put Elon in charge of government regulations that oversee the businesses that Elon runs. That's a hell of a buy. He could spend billions to make more than 10 billion on the back end. So in other words, Donald Trump, in front of the eyes of the American public, is promising corruption. That's what he's promising you.
Democrats are idiots. They really are idiots. Do you want to end the show now? They're idiots. If you were in that audience and you were applauding or booing at the cues that this moron was giving you, you're an idiot. And I just don't know how to describe it otherwise. They are doing the most transparent thing. Yeah, Donald Trump is saying, Elon, you, a freaking Renaissance man beyond imagination who has done unbelievably incredible things like catching a rocket that just came back into orbit the other day with robotic chopsticks, basically. You could help us. You're a very effective person in terms of building things, and you could come into the government. And we're not very good at things here at the government. You could come in and help us do things. You could help us make government more efficient because you've had to build businesses and be efficient, and you've had to work with budgets, and you've had companies that go public where you have to talk to a board and also still make a good product, et cetera, et cetera. And they think that is bad. Yes, Donald Trump really sat down with Elon and was like, Elon, would you like to be in charge of government regulations? And if you give me a little work on that, we'll make sure you get a little extra money. It's so absolutely bananas. And I guess you cannot blame those people for applauding and booing like seals because they probably went to school at public schools, and public schools have blown apart people's brains. So they think the bad guys are the good guys and the good guys are bad guys. Also, of course, Tim Walz is very, very concerned about dark money and millionaires and billionaires who are funding these things. Connor, put up a picture of somebody with, yeah, that's George Soros' son who's in charge of the Soros operation right now. That picture's a couple weeks ago. Soros brought in a bunch of powerful political, all Democrats as always, and there they are smiling. And I wonder if Soros, his dad, of course, he's now in charge of all of his operations. His dad, of course, who put in so many of these DAs that have wrecked places like New York City and places like San Francisco and Los Angeles, et cetera, et cetera. So your billionaires are kind of okay. When the one guy that's not down for the crap that you people are spewing, we better look into his businesses. We better think about jailing him and a whole bunch more. Guys, let's talk about Rumble Premium and then more on the other side. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that's incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted that they felt pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove free speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much off it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with promo code Rubin when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium/Rubin and use code Rubin. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us right here on Rumble. All right, that ad was actually perfectly fitting for this next segment because, of course, they're always going after Elon, and I would say Rumble and Locals are sort of 2 and 3 in that defense against the giant globalist corporations and freaking WEF and the whole thing. But now there is massive lawfare against Elon Musk. And again, just remember, before Elon Musk bought Twitter, he was the hero and darling of the left. Everyone loved him. They loved innovation. They loved all the cool stuff that he was doing. It was only once he started speaking out politically, and again, has taken no radical, just really try to think about it for yourself for just a moment. What is Elon Musk's most radical position? Other than he supports Donald Trump because he likes America. I don't think he has one radical position. All of his positions are Democrat positions from 1988. Yet here we are, and they are going after him with lawfare. Check this out from Paul Thacker. This is wild. It's not surprising, I suppose, in some sense. Exclusive documents. Working with Matt Taibbi, we report on the Center for Countering Digital Hate, there's an Orwellian name, documents showing the Labour Party's political front's objective is to kill Musk's Twitter through advertising focus, meaning harass his advertisers. Internal Center for Countering Digital Hate documents show their annual objective is to kill Musk's Twitter. This is their internal monthly planner. Their goal is also to trigger regulatory action, although they are a tax-exempt nonprofit. CCDH held a private conference with a slew of liberal groups organizing against Musk, including Biden White House, Congressman Adam Schiff's office, Biden-Harris State Department officials, Canadian MP Peter Julian, and Media Matters for America. Center for Countering Digital Hate gets a lot of money from Hollywood. Staff say that one of the donors is singer Selena Gomez, a client of Aline Khashoggian. Elon Musk saw that and he wrote, "This is war." So you see what is happening here. When Tim Walz says he's not for the billionaires and doesn't like the corporations and oh my God, what could they be all up to? When they're all lining up to destroy their enemies, they don't have a problem with it at all. And again, why do people hate Elon Musk because of Twitter? Is it that he has manipulated Twitter so that it is pro-Trump or something like that, or that it's pro-conservatives or pro-Republicans? No, all he did was even. The thing was completely out of whack. If it was Lady Justice, the scales were kind of like this. He evened it out. But what they don't like is an even playing field, because when there's an even playing field and we have equal knowledge and we're not censoring things like the Hunter Biden laptop story that they took out New York Post for, the old regime of Twitter, then Democrats tend to lose because oddly, the truth happens to be a more conservative principle these days. Of course, it's not just that. It's also that they literally want to jail him. Do you remember when Donald Trump said, "They're not coming for me, they're coming for you, I'm just standing in the way"? Well, now Elon is in those very crosshairs. Here's Joe Biden yesterday. Yeah, he's still out there. Not that much. It's very controlled, and he's babbling and incoherent as usual, but he was able to stumble out there and say that he wants to arrest Donald Trump.
It's not a joke. This is a guy who also wants to replace every civil servant, every single one. Thinks he has a right under the Supreme Court ruling on immunity to be able, if need be, if it was the case, to actually physically eliminate, shoot, kill someone who he believes to be a threat to him. I mean, so I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up.
It's just crazy. Look, it's not even worth analyzing that too much. He barely knows what he's saying. He's stumbling and fumbling through it. Of course, all of that is not true. But then the people, what the scary part is, the people, yes, lock him up. Okay, so arrest Donald Trump. You guys have done everything you could do for the last 4 years to get rid of the guy. And it's like, oh, yes, arrest our political opponents. It seems great. It seems really, really great. But now let's jump onto the other side. So, okay, you guys get the wide tent thing. We talk about it relentlessly here. But what is happening on the other side? Well, on the other side, they've got Dick and Liz. Liz and Dick. It sounds like a 50s sitcom. Here is Norah O'Donnell chatting with Kamala about Dick. Liz.
Election day is just over 2 weeks away, and the fight for every single last undecided vote in battleground states is intensifying. Vice President Kamala Harris is targeting disaffected Republican voters by hitting the trail with Liz Cheney in the crucial blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Cheney was a powerful Republican congresswoman, and today she called Harris a responsible adult. As for former President Donald Trump, he was back in North Carolina again, pushing false claims about FEMA and immigrants. That's after he spent the weekend slinging a crude insult at Harris, engaging in lewd locker room talk about the late golfing legend Arnold Palmer, and staging a campaign stunt at a Pennsylvania McDonald's.
That's real. That's the mainstream media, like right there for you. Everything the Democrats do is great and wonderful. And yes, they get the very same Republicans that you people hate. Now they're Democrats, so they're wonderful. What did Donald Trump do? He lied about FEMA and immigrants. No, he didn't. FEMA did give $300 million. We've shown you to illegals, which they don't have an unlimited budget. So then that does hurt the people of North Carolina. Fact, we've screenshot that and showed it to you repeatedly over the last couple of weeks. What else did Donald Trump do? He said something about Arnold Palmer's wang. That one is true, but it was a joke. It was kind of funny. And then whatever else, it doesn't even matter, but you just see it. You just see the way they subliminally make you hate one side and love another side. Now we haven't done one of these in a while where we leave me on camera during a video clip. But Kamala was interviewed yesterday. It was a town hall situation. It was a town hall where she did not take any questions from the crowd. It was interesting how they did that. So I guess technically, I don't know what the technical definition of a town hall is. It's thought that you would speak to the townspeople, I think. She didn't do that. But here is about a minute and a half of Kamala. And this is word salad that is so extraordinary, we decided to leave me on camera for it because even though I've heard it 5 times, I will react accordingly. Go.
If I can just speak to what people are feeling. We cannot despair. We cannot despair. You know, the nature of a democracy is such that I think there's a duality. On the one hand, there's an incredible strength when our democracy is intact. An incredible strength in what it does to protect the freedoms and rights of its people. Oh, there's great strength in that. And it is very fragile. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. And so that's the moment we're in. And I say do not despair because in a democracy, as long as we can keep it in our democracy, the people, every individual has the power to make a decision about what this will be. And so let's not feel powerless. That's what we have the power to do. So let's own that. Dare I say, be joyful in what we will do in the process of owning that, which is knowing that we can and will build community and coalitions and remind people that we're all in this together. Let's not let the overwhelming nature of this strip us of our strength. That's how I feel about this.
It's meaningless. It's meaningless drivel. There's something to be said about the strength of democracy, and there's also something to be said about how fragile it could be. But there's nothing behind what she's saying. And communities and it's just nothing. And they put this woman out there, and people are convinced that she's going to save democracy, even though she's on the side of the people that are in charge of it right now. Here's Liz Cheney, a woman who lost her own congressional race by 60 points in Wyoming, who's an embarrassment of a party. Her father was thought of as Hitler reincarnated way before Donald Trump was Hitler. She's a Democrat now, and she's out there for Kamala.
And so I think that we are facing a choice in this election. It's not about party. It's about right and wrong. And I certainly have many Republicans who will say to me, I can't be public. They do worry about a whole range of things, including violence, but they'll do the right thing. And I would just remind people, if you're at all concerned, you can vote your conscience and not ever have to say a word to anybody. And there will be millions of Republicans who do that on November 5th, vote for Vice President Harris.
All right, Liz, you said it's about right and wrong. I would like to show you, Liz, a video of you, Liz, in 2020.
Talk to me kind of your thoughts on on Joe Biden naming Kamala Harris as his running mate.
Her views are so radical that just from a political standpoint, it was a surprising pick to me because in order for Biden to win, he has to appeal to suburban voters in a lot of swing states around the country. He's got to appeal to people that are not California liberals. He's already got the California liberal vote. So I don't see that Harris helps him. I think what he ended up having to do was basically
placate that far left wing of the party. So I think in addition to the fact that she would be a terrible vice president policy-wise for the country, it tells us something about Joe Biden. It tells us that he's not really leading his party. He's not really in charge and sort of putting his mark on the party the way most nominees do. He's much more having to keep them happy.
So right now, Liz Cheney is telling you it's about right or wrong. 4 years ago, she was telling you that this woman is far left, that Joe Biden should have chose somebody else. She's now trying to convince you that you as a Republican or a conservative should vote for the most far left presidential candidate we have ever had. And what is the reasoning for that? The reasoning for that is she is part of the system. Her dad was VP. He made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars at Halliburton while we were blowing up Iraq. Nobody in her own party likes her. She wants something to remain relevant by. And she can remain relevant by selling out whatever her beliefs are. It's so interesting because it's completely different, you know, because you might be watching this and going, Dave, wait, how can you applaud someone like Tulsi Gabbard for saying what she believes in and leaving her party, and then on the other hand, make fun of somebody like Liz Cheney? Except Tulsi Gabbard is absolutely explaining why she's leaving the Democrat Party and why she's finding the pro-America party that now is represented by Donald Trump. She goes through the issues, right, as it relates to wokeism, as it relates to the foreign wars, as it relates to the border. She can lay out all of those things. Liz Cheney cannot lay out any of those things, right? She can ramp up crazy fear about Donald Trump, but she can't. Do you think Liz Cheney, or heart of hearts, thinks that Kamala Harris is better on the border? I think Liz Cheney actually wants war, and Kamala Harris will be better for the war machine, but she can't. How can you as a conservative vote for someone that's for 8-month abortions? Regardless of where abortion falls on your hierarchy of importance. Anyway, they've got Liz Cheney, so congratulations with Liz and Dick. And they've also got Chris Matthews over at MSNBC, who was fired. He's another one. These people all get fired, and then they come back, which it just blows my mind. Chris Matthews, fired, now back on the televised mental institution known as MSNBC, and a little bit more from Joy Behar glazing Liz Cheney.
Years ago, Liz Cheney came on the show with Dick Cheney, and that was when they were bombing the wrong country. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I did not like her at all, and I certainly loathed him. So it comes as a surprise to me right now that I like Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
Because I think she is a true patriot. And the one thing that we agree on is that you don't put the nuclear codes in the hands of a psychotic.
Yeah.
You know? And thank you, Liz. You know, this is a guy who's saying things like, you send your boys to school, they come back as a girl. I mean...
Well, Mika, I wouldn't think a few years ago I would ever be singing the praises of a Cheney member of the family, a member of that family. I really did not like the Iraq War, and I didn't like the neocons, and Cheney was leading them all, and he took us into that war, and it killed almost 200,000 people in Iraq, and it served no purpose. They had a bunker, a barrier against Iran, and they got rid of it. Anyway.
You get it, guys? Because they have no principles and they just care about power, when someone comes around to their line of thinking, we can forget all of the horrific things that they did. About 400,000 people died in the Iraq War. That is on Dick Cheney. I don't blame Liz Cheney for her father's decisions, but you can see they hated her as part of the Cheney family. But now, oh, you're on our team now. So doesn't matter if we disagree with you on literally everything, you're a good guy now. It's actually rather grotesque, and I don't think any of you watching this would have friends that are like that. Like, imagine bringing like a friend, just a friend. Like, you disagree with this person on literally everything. They've done nothing but horrible things in their life, but finally they agree with you on one. Like, it's enemies closer. It's just absolutely disgusting. And to show how disgusting it is and how this alliance, it is an unholy alliance that these people are putting together. Here's Kamala saying that she might just put Liz Cheney in her cabinet.
You've spent a lot of time on the campaign trail with former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, as you referenced. Is she somebody who you would consider putting in the cabinet? Have you talked with her about this topic? I'll keep you posted.
What kind of fucking answer is that? Why can't you just say, no, I wouldn't? You know, it's nice that she's supporting me. She had no support in Wyoming, got demolished in her own thing. It is nice that she doesn't like Donald Trump, but like, why wouldn't, but you both live in service to the machine, so you cannot say anything true. You have to all pretend you're in on it together. And she might, by the way, put her in because it's like, oh, you're for war, I'm for war. Well, let's figure it out. It is an unholy alliance. I don't know how to describe it any other way. Of course, the other thing with Harris is that she should not even be the nominee right now. She threatened Biden with 25th Amendment. I mean, we just showed you that video of him, again, the rambling and everything else. So it's not like he should have been the nominee, and he shouldn't have even been president anyway. But this was an interesting question. She was asked about, again, because this has happened repeatedly, when she's asked when she kind of knew that Biden was crumbling, that the decline was obvious. And just watch this lack of answer. Despicable.
Can you say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time?
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished
Not an answer. Not an answer. Why can't you look at her? Looking the other way.
And capable.
Answer the question.
In every way that anyone would
capable
want
in every way?
You never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates.
Oh, really?
He is absolutely.
But that's the reason why you're here. And he's not running for the top of the ticket.
Good question.
Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why.
What do you think?
What are you implying?
I am running for president of the United States.
Vile.
I speak with not only sincerity,
no, you
but
don't.
with a real firsthand account
of how I cooed him.
Him do this work. I have no reluctance in saying that. No, of course I don't.
Oh, so there was no reason that he stepped down after that, and she has no recollection of something being wrong with the guy. That should be disqualifying right there. The woman cannot admit, even now, even after they have coronated you, you unqualified person, you still just admit it. Just admit it. The debate was horrible, and finally we had some suspicions about his mental state, but they can't because they don't care. The thing is, because the machine is so good at confusing people, they know that people will vote for it no matter what. There's also another hilarious thing happening with her right now, because it's very hard for all of the machine and all of the lies and all of the censorship and all of the dark money that they've gotten, all the things. It's very hard to juggle so many inconsistent things, right? It's hard to juggle the idea, I'm running, I was the guy's VP, but I'm going to change things, but also I'm going to keep them the same. Like, it's very hard to just manage all of that. So you know that repeatedly she has said that she would do nothing different than Joe Biden. Well, she flipped on that yesterday.
And our new NBC News poll shows that more voters think that the Biden administration policies have hurt them rather than helped them. And I wonder, are the last 4 years an obstacle to you in this race?
Here's how I look at it. First of all, let me be very clear. Mine will not be a continuation of the Biden administration. I bring my own experiences, my own ideas to it.
Oh, it won't be a continuation of the Biden administration, Connor? Do we have a video of her saying it would be a continuation of the Biden administration?
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
So look, vote for that if you want. Vote for nothing. Artificial intelligence that is not that intelligent and is highly artificial. If that's what you want, if you want to be lied to, if you want to be pandered to, if you want policies that are completely backwards, if you don't think America's great, if you think boys have vaginas, then vote Democrat. That actually would be a better Democrat ad right there. I just cut a Democrat ad. Someone put that out there, sponsored by the Democrats. But okay, so what do we do? What do we do in the face of all of this? Well, what we can continue to do over the next 13 days for however many people are on the fence about all of this is we can, of course, continue to tell the truth. We can be authentic. We can fight properly and tell people what really is going on here. J.D. Vance.
But she walks into The View, and you would think that would be an interview, and you know what they asked her? They gave her a softball, an easy question, really propaganda. They said, can you name a single thing where you disagree with Joe Biden? Now, let's back up for a second, because remember, Kamala Harris's entire campaign is to pretend that she hasn't been the vice president for the last 3.5 years. You know, she stands up before crowds, and she'll say, on day one, we're going to tackle the affordability crisis. On day one, we're going to secure the border. And you listen to her for 5 minutes and you think, Kamala, are you going to vote for Donald Trump? Because you've been vice president for 1,400 days. You haven't done anything. Think about this. For the last 2 months, Kamala Harris has been telling the American people that she's going to do things differently than Joe Biden, where she increased the cost of groceries by 25%. The average Michigan family is paying $1,000 more per month. That's $12,000 per year to afford today what they could have afforded when Donald Trump was president. The border is wide open thanks to our illustrious border czar, Kamala Harris, and her entire campaign has been to pretend that she doesn't bear any responsibility for the policies, even though she's the sitting vice president.
Look, that's it. That's it. Look, the guy's speaking off the cuff. That's obviously not off a prompter and all of that stuff. He's pointing out the hypocrisy of all of this. She's saying she won't have anything to do with him and she'll continue and doesn't know anything that he's done wrong. On top of the fact that she was installed, on top of the fact that her alliance makes no sense, and Dick Cheney was the devil and now he's a hero. Like, none of this makes any sense other than they are throwing everything, including the kitchen sink now, to make sure that they can stay in power. That is where we are at. Look, I don't want the government to do that much. I really don't. To me, a government should be so small that it can't fix all my problems, but it can't create endless problems too, right? And that's really what the founders wanted. That's what personal autonomy is. That's what individual rights are. That's what property rights are. They wanted light touch of government. The government that we have 250 years later is such a giant albatross in complete contrast to what the founders wanted. Now, we can't destroy all of that at once. And I do think that Donald Trump, via a guy like Elon Musk with the Department of Government Efficiency and a guy like Robert F. Kennedy hacking away at the NIH and CDC, can do some damage to it. But what most people want is just people who will say it as it is and focus on whatever limited problems the government can deal with. Here's one more from JD.
I wanted to ask you about what you had said earlier in Pennsylvania about the 2020 election results. You've been asked that on the debate stage with Walls, and then again in the New York Times interview 5 times, and by other reporters.
Yes, look, ma'am, look, my answer on this, and I answered this question 1,000,000 times when I ran for the Senate, the 2022 Republican primary. I've answered this question in the 2022 general election. I've answered this question 10 times recently. I think that big tech rigged the election in 2020. That's my view. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. But what?
You answer it now.
I'm sorry?
Why did you answer the question now? Why did you say no when you didn't say it before?
I've given that exact question for years. And this is such a preposterous thing that the American media does. I have given this answer to this question for literally years, and the American media wants to focus on what happened 4 years ago than the fact that North Carolinians can't afford groceries. I think that's a disgrace. Do your job and focus on the problems the American people care about rather than bull from 4 years ago.
And that's the point, guys. They want you looking in the rear view mirror. They want you to see ghosts and goblins wherever they are to the backdrop of Halloween. And they don't want you to have a government that would be somewhat effective and efficient. We can still, if you want, like, we can all have the debates about what happened in that last election and whether Donald Trump did anything wrong before January 6th or any of that stuff. But JD's answer there is right. Like, big tech did do something shady, and we all know it. Why was the New York Post, which has been a newspaper in America for over 100 years, banned on Twitter? Why did 51 intelligence officials say that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation when it was not? It's set on top of the banning of people because of COVID and silencing of people and crushing all dissent and all of those things. So some of that might add up to, oh, there was a little something weird that happened with the election. But putting that aside, what JD's saying is right. What people want, they don't need a great government. They don't need a government that does a ton for them. But the basic stuff, can you get out of the way of the economy enough so that prices of groceries go down, as opposed to what Kamala Harris wants, which is price controls, which they had in Soviet Russia, and it didn't go that well. We have one type of toilet paper. We call it toilet paper. I still can't remember that comedian's name. It wasn't Yakov Smirnov. It was another Russian guy that I knew. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the show. The election is coming. Do what you must. Post-game show in 30 seconds. RubinReport.locals.com. Goodbye.
Do it, because if Trump wins, Kyle's going to have his own room in the West Wing, probably where Hunter lived, and he'll enjoy those 4 years, because you can't separate these guys. Kyle,
we'll party harder than Hunter Biden too.
All right,
maybe.
that sounds like a threat. Behave yourself. I'll see you later.